Hello, we are here at Sunloft Musical Engineering, and I have a new thing just dropped off. What could it be, you ask? A Veena. So, I'm going to do the unboxing right now. These always have very interesting cases. And I say cases, I mean coverings. Usually case involves some sort of structure. This is just a mere covering. Sometimes I have seen cases for them and they are very large, which can help and hurt certain aspects. I had somebody reach out and their wax is crumbled. And they said, I bought a nice case for it. And sometimes because it has a case, you treat it like it can't be hurt. And these instruments are so fragile because of the wax. So here we are. The first covering is released. So far I've seen some cracks on the back. Put this case in a good spot. Now for the second layer. Looks like a pillow. A sheet. A little bed for the Veena. Interesting thing about this Veena is it came all the way from St. Louis to Chicago. You know how that happens is people share my stories. They're interested, they need help. These instruments are constantly getting used, and some people who use them, such as this one, was loaned to somebody and they put it in their garage and the wax just melted off of it. So let's take a little walk around this thing. This is a pretty cheap pickup that you can buy for Veenas. They sound okay for the price. I see 2 cracks in the bridge. Not a big deal. Looks like a rosewood of some sort. The top looks nice. And here is a crack that has been filled. It's not necessarily level. I don't know what kind of glue that is, but it kind of just looks like wood putty. Maybe there's some wood glue. This bridge is pretty nice. It's a cast piece of brass, similar with this top portion. The neck looks alright. Sometimes they can separate from this joint. You can't really see so well because there's a piece of plastic covering that. It'll looks nicer with the covering, but not seeing a whole lot of other damage. Another thing that happens is these can crack off. But this gets loose. This is the secondary resonating chamber. Here's the face. Very cool dragon. Looks like he's missing some teeth. Just on this side. Should be 3 like on this. Let's see what else we got going on in the secret box. So the tuners. They don't seem damaged. Pretty cool embellishments on them. So, the wax has melted off. And this can be very fragile, so I'm going to move you over to the table. Good night, Veena. So this is still straight from the customer. I had some pictures sent to me, but we're gonna do the unboxing, so everybody loves that on the internet. And again, the way I get repairs is been through word of mouth, sharing of videos, and help from viewers like you. So here is the wax portion. Being very careful because I'm not sure status of certain things. From the picture, it looked pretty bad. So let's get down to business. So we have the appearance of the wax. Here it comes. This is the fretboard. I can actually use this table as kind of like a level. There is some flex because it is wax, but yeah, you know, it's not 100% level. You can hear the rocking. These are just the tops of the bars. It looks like there's some white material. I'm not sure what that is. Some paint. Nothing. Just a tiny piece of wax in there. Recording. Anything in here? Those are probably the frets and the missing piece of wax. All right. So let's flip it over and see where we're at. So this is the status of the wax. You know, they're built in many different ways, but usually there is some pins that will be in the wood so that it will hold onto this wax. And looking at the instrument, I did not see any pins, so there's not a lot of structural integrity with the installing of this wax fretboard because you're relying on wax to hold, you know, a decent amount of metal. I don't know how much I could calculate it, but oh yeah, and then there's the end piece too. So this piece isn't that bad. That should be easy to do. So it doesn't seem too bad, aside from it's completely off of the instrument. But it always hurts more when we're missing stuff. Then I gotta make it, or yeah. So not too bad. These are also really cool. These are some older style frets I've seen. They have these little teeth in them, and they're kind of, most of the ones I've seen like this are square, like instead of circular. These are circular. So sometimes I see them circular without these nubs. Sometimes I see them square with the nubs. Ideally, the nub is good because it more surface area for the Veena. For the fret to be held in by wax, which, you know, that's kind of a lot to ask of wax. So just trying to make sure we put this back the way that it was. and sometimes they just fit perfectly. So they take very good care. We're missing a little bit of wax here, not a big deal. I have a lot of wax to deal with issues like that. Sometimes heating up the wax can cause its own issues because the consistency will be different, so the black can be made in many different ways. You can even use black crayon to do some of the fix. I have a big patty of wax to fix these. Somebody brought me from India, so that's helpful. I also just have beeswax wax on hand for many other types of repairs, and I've mixed it before for some clients that needed all new wax. Sometimes I'll melt down what they give me, but usually the mixture can dry out, become crumbly. But yeah, so here it is. This is the fretboard. And I don't really see too much damage aside from, this area, and then that it's completely off. So what I will probably do is put some nails to hold it down so that this won't happen again, ideally, if it's left in a not so stable environment. So just looking at this, we're missing a little bit of wax, and we're gonna have to heat up and potentially clean the underneath where this was adhered, and then make sure that it's all at a similar height to where it was, because the bridge kind of determines, the action and getting everything correct so that you're not fretting out and you're not buzzing and you're not playing out of tune. So I can at least put this back on the instrument, kind of like tack weld it with some wax, see where we're at, because many times, whenever I work on an instrument, I like to have it under pitch and playable so that I can see where we're at the beginning, and then make adjustments with the strings that are on it, then completely take the strings off and then rework the entire instrument, and there will be less up in the air questions about where are we at with, like, what are we gonna have to do, how does it play in tune, because since I've never played this instrument, it could have played out of tune from the manufacturer. It could have some sharp notes. These are adjustable, but you do have to heat up the wax and then move it, and then do a lot of cleaning up of these scalloped wax portions. Also like to clean these and buff them somewhat as much as possible without heating them up too much, but just to make them look shiny, because the brass is really nice when it looks shiny to me. So yeah, that is the unboxing of this new repair. If you're interested in more things like this, just give me a like and a follow. Tell your friends. I also do work on lots of other stringed instruments. So my forte being the banjo, but it's quickly turning into the Veena, as there has been quite a need for it because these are so fragile, large, and I don't think a lot of guitar repair people want to touch them because of those reasons. I have a decent amount of spare parts to take over if something is lost, which many times when things become in a state of disrepair, you just start losing small little chunks of things. So I'm going to melt a little bit of wax, keep this together, maybe even put it on the instrument. It seems to be holding pitch as of now. See where we're at with that. Thanks for watching. I have the wax on the Veena. It's not fully adhered, but it was playable. I took the strings off because I did notice that the bridge had 2 cracks that had previously been glued but had failed, so I'm going to clean up those glue joints, re-glue it, and then we can do another full test of the Veena.